What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and today we are on episode number 180. And today is kind of a bittersweet day. Today is officially the last episode of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. So that's what makes it kind of bitter. Yet the sweetness of this day is that my podcasting days are not over with. I'd like to think that they're actually just beginning. So I am actually going through right now and looking at the first episode that I released for the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. And it was on August 31st of 2021. So not quite 4 years ago, but almost 4 years ago. And it was the pilot episode, and then the second one was, do you really want to be a millionaire? 7 secrets to solving stress. I just literally went through and I looked at all of these episodes that I've done over the past 3 to almost 4 years of my life, not missing 1 week for 180 weeks in a row. And I felt pretty proud of what I had stayed consistent to over that time. And long story short, I've mentioned this a couple times on this podcast, yet in May of last year, I made a decision to officially go full-blown entrepreneur mode and cut my income by about 60% and went full in on our Acres of Diamonds mental fitness work. Now, when I did that, I didn't really have exactly the plan that I was going to do, which I wouldn't recommend doing. I would recommend really outlining some things prior to making those decisions. Yet, made the decision, and then I needed to figure out basically what my work in Acres of Diamonds truly looked like. And I started to think about what had been working over the past 5 to 6 years of my life. And the one thing that was very consistent amongst those 5 to 6 years was my coaching and mentoring of young men. I've told the story a couple times, yet when I was 24, maybe 25 years old, I started mentoring a young man who was maybe 17 or 18 at the time. And that grew into 2 guys, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to, I think, maybe 13 or 14 at one point. And I was mentoring these guys really just on things that were important to me, things that had helped me, and they were kind of struggling with similar areas when it came to whether they were working through some stress and some anxiety, whether they wanted to be more confident young men, or whether they wanted to develop certain habits and then create systems to actually build out those habits and track those habits. And so over those 5 to 6 years, I got a lot of FaceTime with these guys, actually almost 300 hours. I'm almost on my 300th one-on-one session of just one-on-ones, and then over 300 hours of group sessions with some of these guys as well. And so over that time, I realized that the work that I really enjoyed doing was helping these guys out and helping them navigate things that I had struggled with in my early 20s and mid 20s, and helping them get on a path that was going to help them get closer towards what they want and live a happier and healthier life. And so when I made that decision in May and kind of reflected on the things that had been working, I decided to go full in on starting to coach these young men. And originally, I did not know what I was going to call this group or what this project was, or this part of Acres of Diamonds was. So I just started calling it our Young Men Coaching Program. And one day in a session with a young man, he said, I want to be that guy that can do hard things. And so I wrote down, be that guy that can do hard things. And he goes, I want to be that guy that can have stress hit me and I know what to do, or I have some strategies to get through it. So I wrote it down again. And throughout that session, this statement of be that guy kept getting brought up. So a couple hours later, I had another session with a young man. And ironically, and I don't even think it's ironically, I think this was all supposed to happen. He said, I want to be that guy that's organized, and I have a nice schedule. I know where my classes are. I know when I exercise, when I eat. And I wrote down that term, be that guy, again. And at the end of that session, I was looking at both of these notes and I said, be that guy. And I realized the power of that statement because anybody can kind of create their be that guy statement. Be that guy who is emotionally intelligent. Be that guy who shows up for his friends. Be that guy who makes a commitment and follows through on it. And so at that point, I said, I'm going to name our coaching program for young men the Be That Guy coaching program. And that's what I decided to do. And I decided to go full in on starting to grow that program into something that was going to really help these young men who are struggling today with anxiety, social media, feeling lost, misguided, confused as to what a good, healthy, strong man is today, and how to navigate all of that. And so from there, I started to grow the business and grow the actual group. And today we have 14 members in our Be That Guy club and coaching program. And that's what this podcast is actually going to turn into. So I'm going to do an official first episode of that podcast, but basically here's what's going to happen. The Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast is going to turn into the Be That Guy podcast. And this podcast is going to be a little bit edgier because I've already started recording episodes for it, and it's going to be a little bit more entertaining. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to dive deeper into what it's like to be a guy in the 21st century today from not only a male's perspective, yet also a female's perspective as well. And so I'll explain all of that in our, you could say, our pilot episode for the Be That Guy podcast. And there's a couple of reasons as to why I wanted to make this shift. One, because that's the main project that I'm working on right now. It's the thing that is very important to me, and it's something that I want to create more content for these young men to learn about how to manage social media, how to be more confident, how to be more emotionally intelligent. All of these things that I've learned over my 20s that have really helped me, I think, when it comes to my self-esteem, my own confidence, and my own goals and vision of what I want to do with my life. And so I want to talk more about that stuff to these young men. And I was looking back on the past 180 episodes or 179 episodes of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. And the things that I talk about were really just things that I had kind of experienced in my life or things that I was learning. And one of my mentors, when I was discussing this idea of transitioning from the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast to the Be That Guy podcast, he goes, you have to remember the Libraries and Weight Rooms brand is something that's very personal to you. And you can go back, and I think it was episode 150, where I actually explain why I call this the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast, because libraries and weight rooms were the two places in my life where I felt the strongest, the smartest, and was making the most progress in my life. And those things are very important to me. And so that's why I named this podcast that, because it was something that was a very personal thing to me. Yet the thing about things that are very personal is sometimes not everybody's going to relate to that. And with the transition to the Be That Guy podcast, if you are a guy in your 20s, you are, and I already know this based upon the couple episodes we've done, you are going to directly relate to that content because I interview guys in their 20s and I interview women in their 20s. And the guys give perspectives on the things that we struggle with and things that guys typically don't talk about in their 20s. And then the women give their perspectives on the things that they're noticing with guys and the things that they want in a guy. So it's going to be a completely different experience. And like I said, I'll explain a little bit more about it in that pilot episode. Yet that's essentially what I'm going to do. And that's what I want to do. I don't want the episodes to be kind of random anymore. I want the episodes to be very deliberate and intentional with some of the messages that I want to get across to anybody who wants to be that guy, right? For those guys who are listening, who are in their 20s, who are looking for a path, right? Who are looking for some answers. I want that podcast to help with that. So this is officially the last episode of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. Now, the great thing about it is it's all going to still be on the same channel. So all I'm basically going to do is I'm just going to update just like the cover art and the description. So you, as the listeners, you don't have to do anything. You're just going to automatically, the Be That Guy podcast is just going to naturally replace the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. So it'll already be in your feed if you're following it and things like that, which I'm beyond grateful for everybody who has liked the show, given us a review, rating, all of those things. So thank you so much. So this is officially the last one of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast, which I'm pretty happy with why I decided to do this. I remember going to a mastermind summit, and it was with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. And right after that summit, I said, I'm going to start a podcast, and I'm going to name it the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. And I bought some podcasting equipment from Amazon that was $40. And I remember for the first, I think, 10 episodes, I didn't hook up the microphone correctly, and I just was speaking out loud in my room, and the Audacity program on my laptop was actually just picking up my voice. And I didn't even realize it until I started to look a little bit deeper into it and realized, oh my goodness, I haven't even set this up yet correctly. Yet that's all part of the experience, and that's all part of the story. If I was to start this podcast and have it be an immediate success and have all of the episodes be perfect and have it be just this 5-star incredible and educational experience, it wouldn't be as cool of a story if I hadn't messed up those first 10 episodes. And so I think whether you want to call it the lesson or the moral of this last episode, is that things are not going to be perfect when you start. Yet the more attempts we make, the more failures we're going to have. And the more failures we have, the more successes we're going to experience. And so I'm starting to see some success with the Be That Guy program. And I truly believe in my heart that we are just getting started with something that is going to truly change the world when it comes to being a young man. And the results that we've gotten with young men in the ages of 17 to 25 and bringing back the brotherhood. And when I say brotherhood, not the electronic brotherhood, not the communities on Reddit or Discord or video games and communities like that. And I have nothing against that. Do what you want. Yet what I'm saying is developing real relationships with guys who care about making progress in their life, whether that's their diet, their movement, their sleep, their personal life, their professional life, who they are as a young man. Those are the guys that are going to be attracted to this work, and those are the guys who are going to essentially bring back the brotherhood. And so I just would like to say thank you to everybody who has stuck with me through these grueling 3 years of me trying to figure out how to become a content creator and a podcaster, and somebody who has ideas in his head and doesn't mind sharing them, even if you don't agree with them. Even if some of the things I say might not even make sense. And I bet you there are some things that don't make sense that I say, because I'm a human and I'm still trying to learn the best way to communicate these things as well. Yet I do know that the new podcast is going to be a little edgier. The episodes that we've done, we get into some touchy topics around guys and girls, and it's going to be a little bit different than this. So if you are somebody who has just liked the natural flow of these episodes, just something interesting, it might not be for you. It's going to be a lot different than what these episodes have been. Yet the one thing that I will promise is that I'm going to try to make them as valuable as I possibly can. So thank you to everybody who has stuck with me for the last 180 weeks of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. And I am very, very excited to introduce to you the Be That Guy podcast, which will officially be released in March. So here we go. Thank you guys so much. And as always, if you like today's episode, give it a rating, give it a review, share it to somebody who you think is going to like the Be That Guy podcast moving forward. If you have a son, right? If you have a son and he's in between the ages of 17 and 25, I hope he tunes into the Be That Guy podcast, because he's going to learn a lot of things that I wish I knew when I was in that age range. So thank you guys so much. Keep doing hard things, and we will talk to you guys soon. We'll see you.